Um,
Hey guys, welcome back to the Head Up Rugby League podcast. Today we're just with the three of us today. We got Josh and Connor. How are you boys?
Feeling good.
Yeah, it's good to hear, boys. Good to hear. Now we're in the end game, boys. Where it's in final season. Yeah, we've had week 1 last week, and we're moving on to week 2. So what we thought this week is we'll just have a bit of a preview. We didn't really do much last week, besides the interview. So we thought we'll have a redo or review of last week, and then we're going to build our ladder predictions and see who's going to go through to the grand final, win the grand final. So to start it off,
just saying, going back to our roots here, this is what the podcast used to be every week: the preview, the review, and I think it got a bit boring for people. So this is why we don't do it that much anymore. But yeah, shout out to the old days of the podcast doing this.
Yeah. Oh god, didn't we do like a before the match and after the match of like every week?
Yeah, we went pretty hard pretty early.
To start us off, Connor, the Panthers and Eels game, 27 to 8 to the Panthers. What do you think of it?
I thought like the whole first half the Eels looked like the dominant side pretty much. I thought away with it, but then they got the sin bin, and then Panthers scored behind the bin, which obviously just turns the momentum so much.
Yeah.
But got to give credit to Mitch Moses. Like me and Bryce, the whole game were looking for him to put a foot wrong, and he just didn't. He was everywhere. I thought he was superb.
Yeah.
Obviously, I thought the Panthers were off with everyone like coming back this week, but they just went straight back to it in the second half.
I thought Cleary was going to take a little more time to adjust, but you just saw as soon as, because how many weeks was it? Was it 5 weeks or 4 weeks? He had off
5, yeah.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, he just, as soon as he stepped on that pitch, he just controlled everything. Like, I think he got 4 out of 4 conversions and just every kick. And then in the first half, I think he saw Mitchell Moses going for the drop goal, missed it, and then Nathan Cleary just turns around and says, "Nah, I'll do that," and just does the field goal straight away and puts them in the lead 7-6 at halftime. So
yeah, because everyone said that was going to be the issue with Cleary, but I was telling people at work, I'm like, he wasn't injured, he was suspended. He can still train with the team and do what it's not like an injury where you struggle to come back. And I didn't actually watch the game, but I saw some of the highlights, and you feel bad for those outside backs of the Eels having to catch those bombs from him, because that's a different halfback. Some of their sets looked like pretty mediocre, but then he does a kick, and then all of a sudden they get the ball 10 meters away from the try line. So that's the key difference with Cleary compared to halfbacks.
And it was a bit unfortunate. Oh God, I can't remember who got off. Was it Moses or was it Dylan Brown that got the head injury? Moses, yeah. As soon as Moses went off, like, you just saw the Eels just could not play without him. Like, they were just a completely different team. They just slacked, and they were pretty close in like the first 10 minutes of the second half, but then other than that, they just let the Panthers roll over them.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Liam, like as soon as Mitch Moses went off, you just saw like the big switch, and like Parramatta just started getting dominated. But to be fair to Wanga Blake, like, he's going to save a lot of money. Like, he doesn't have to buy tissues because of COVID, because he can't catch a cold, that guy. Fucking hell.
I felt bad for him because everyone was roasting on social media, fair enough. And then like the coach afterwards, Brad Arthur, was like, "Oh, it's all the forwards' fault for not actually putting pressure on Cleary." And when I watched it back, they didn't put any pressure on him. Cleary had like a couple seconds every time to put up. And he's like, "Don't blame Blake, blame the people that weren't rushing up and actually putting a chase in." So you can sort of see how he's getting blamed to everything, but apparently Niokore was one of them that wasn't actually, and Papali, they weren't actually chasing. So hopefully,
to be honest, when he dropped those catches, the Eels like pretty much gave up, and that's how Brian To'o scored both his tries. Like, you just saw him just run in, he dropped the ball, just grab it up and run through about 2 people, and he scored. So, like, you can't really just blame him. Like, everyone just stood still and just gave up after he dropped it. So,
yeah. So the next game, Raiders and Eels play each other this week, obviously. So, and the reason for that was because the Storm collapsed again without Cameron Smith. He had a 94% finals win rate, and 3 games without him, 3 finals losses. 28-20 the Raiders. What were your thoughts, Leo?
Honestly, I thought this was going to be the game of the round, and a few of my friends and family told me that the Raiders were definitely going to win this one. It was going to be the biggest upset of the whole round, and honestly, it was such a great game to watch. I loved it, every minute of it. It was the last 10 minutes. You just saw the Storm just got so frustrated because everything was just not going their way, and they just tried too much, and it just wasn't going their way, and the Raiders came away with the win that night. So I love the game. The Raiders played really well, and you just got to give credit to all the boys.
Yeah, I was watching this game about 10 rum and cokes and 8 beers deep. I was seeing 2 of everyone, but it was pretty entertaining to watch. I thought Matt Tomoko was really strong ball carrying. I think the Raiders as a team in finals just built different. Like 2019, I think it was, when they made the grand final. Like, they're just so fun to watch in finals. I don't know what it is about them, but very exciting.
Yeah, I saw Ricky Stewart, apart from Bellamy's got the highest win rate in finals for like any current coach. And it's surprising, but when you think about it, they actually do. They've had a great run like last 4 or 5 years. I was trying to think if it was true, but they said that they've been in the last, out of 3 preliminary finals, they've been in 2 out of 3. So that probably makes sense because they made the grand final. Seems a bit long time ago since that, but I don't get how Munster's, like, everyone gives Munster credit when he does well. He missed a kick in front and no one's talked about it, like, at all. He missed a kick in front, a penalty, and no one mentions
He
it.
he went 2 from 4 in his conversions,
And he missed a penalty goal in front.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but no one mentions that. But when he does amazing, it's like, give him his praise. But when he does bad, can we, like, that was when he missed that kick in front, I'm like, how the fuck did he miss that? Like, it was like 20-20 at that stage, or 20-18. So, yeah, Xavier Coates as well. What a play.
Yeah, you could definitely see the at the start of the game when the Raiders and Storm first came out. The Storm were thinking, "Oh, this might be a bit of an easy cruise." When the Raiders score 7 minutes in, but then as you said, Josh, Xavier Coates comes in with the double try to put them up, but it just wasn't enough. I just don't think they were hungry enough, and they were just thinking it might have been just an easy week.
Yeah, it's just one of the things where it comes down to who wants it more. Like, it just seemed like the whole game just wanted it so much more.
I think you could tell the teams that won this week, especially the Raiders and the Cowboys, it was their forwards. Like, Tarpany and Papali were just, every time they ran, same with Taumalolo, like every time they ran, it was like 20-25 meters. And I saw that Tarpany's off contract in 2024. And apparently all other clubs have offered him, like, have already talked to his agent and stuff. And they're thinking 1.2 million the Raiders are going to have to give him to keep him. So it's worth it, but it's at least he plays 80 minutes, I suppose. But
yeah, that's true.
I think he wants to play with a nice young forward pack in North Queensland. I think that's
I think isn't that your answer to every player that's on the market at the moment?
We'll take everyone. Just cat these days.
Warriors will get him when he's 33, like when he's just past his prime. I think that's
when he's shit and he's just overrated.
Yeah,
and then after that, the Tigers and Dragon bidding war begins. After.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the third game of the round. Connor, you want to take it away? What a game for the Cowboys.
I must say, game of the year. In my personal opinion, I was entertained from minute 1 to 93. It was such a mean game.
Yeah. Well, I said I was going to sleep after 10 minutes on our group chat. I'm going to sleep, and just never really even got bothered to go to sleep because it was like, it was just a back and forth game, where there's like a try to one, try the other, try, and then you just couldn't not. I was thinking I'll go to sleep around the 60th minute when the Sharks were up, but I'm like, the Cowboys this year just keep coming back, like I've done that a few times, wrote the Cowboys off, and they've scored a few tries, so I was like, I can't go to sleep, and then happened again.
I think that's why all the Cowboys fans all year just had so much belief, just because in 2015, like, every game we won was just coming back. And it feels like exactly the same this year. That's what just gives us so much confidence.
Yeah, no, it was honestly, I thought the Cowboys, they had a terrific start scoring early. Was it Gilbert scored first. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
The obstruction,
Yeah.
the five of them shoved. That was so bad if they gave that a no try when they like shoved him. I think it was dead.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I just think from them, the Cowboys, they were like, okay, we're up for this, and honestly, it couldn't have ended better going to Golden Point. That's probably how it needed to end. It was such a good game, as you said. It was going back and forth, and then the Sharks got that yellow card, and I think the Cowboys were just up for it, and then Valentine Holmes secures the 2-point field goal.
Yeah, people are talking about that. Would you? I know Connor, when it was happening, wanted the penalty try. Would you rather get the penalty try and they stay on 13, or would you rather get the sin bin and you don't get the try? You know, like you guys
Yeah.
you got the sin bin and you got the try, so you got both. But if you don't score, you'd rather. It's one of those tough ones, you know, as a fan, what you would rather.
I think it depends how it's going, really. Like, if you're like eating, you'd probably want the try because you know you can defend afterwards.
You at least rack the points up. Like if you lose it after
Yeah.
one tackle, it's useless. But
Yeah, that's fair.
they were
But
like giving death threats to that Connor Tracy guy and stuff. Like it was dumb, like what he did, but it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it was terrible. You know, like
yeah.
it's pretty harsh.
I will say though, on a Nico Hines kicking all game was pretty good. I only think he missed one field goal attempt, but other than that, he did as much as he could, and I just think it was just the players around him that let him down. So it was a big game because all the spotlight was on him. So I think he lived up to that game.
Yeah.
I must say, like when Taumalolo scored that try on the Hooter, I was more excited than when Holmes kicked the field goal.
And if Valentine's Holmes missed that kick to make it 30-all, well, how would he have felt, Connor?
My heart would be shattered. I wouldn't be in the podcast. I don't think.
Yeah, it would have been. It was one of those games. If you win, it's one of the greatest feelings. But if you lost, it would have been just like heartbreaking.
Imagine being a and the next day you'd be fucking gutted.
Does it kind of take you back to was it 2015 grand final with the Cowboys with Jonathan Thurston having to kick in the last minute of the game?
It's obviously not that exciting. Like you had a kick next to the post and JT's was on the sideline. Like I think the JT was a bit more of a nail biter, but no, we'll take that.
It was just a great game because it wasn't like one of those finals games where it was easy for both teams. Like there was so many errors. There was just everything you wanted, like heaps of errors, heaps of. It never really felt like it was a perfect game, which actually made it better. I think like the games where both teams just go set for set and there's no errors is boring. Like there was so many errors, so many tries, and everyone was saying bet the under on that game because they were the two best defenses in the comp. It ended up being the opposite. It was awesome. But yeah, what's the next?
The history in this game, if you boys didn't know, there was actually history in the last game. It was the Roosters and Rabbitohs, or the Rabbitohs coming out 30-14. It was the most sin bins in a game, in an NRL game, and it was 7 sin bins. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But,
you don't have much to say, Josh.
It was just like the ref's fault. Like that Radley thing was so soft to start off with, and once you give a sin bin for that, everything else becomes worse. So everyone that got in the head hit the ground, and then sin bin. It was just a ridiculous game. Vossi said it was the longest game he'd ever commentated because it started at 6 and finished at like 8:40. So there was so many stoppages. It was just a ridiculous game, and
I just can't believe, Victor Radley got sent off twice, and
Tane.
He got sent off twice. It's just fucking hell.
You feel bad for Tedesco, man. Like gets injured from a head high, the guy doesn't get sin binned, and then he can't play the rest of the game, and that's sort of what cost them, I reckon. Tedesco being gone. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Rabbitohs were up for it because they lost the week before, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost the week before. Yeah. You guys were too busy playing pool. Yeah.
To be fair, the Rabbitohs were down 2 people and still scored. Like,
that was the game changer when Tedesco went off and was it 13 v 11 and just didn't the Rabbitohs score? Wasn't it 4-0 in 10 minutes? It was such a shocker. And then the Roosters did all this complaining afterwards about it, but it was one of those things. I'm not the greatest Latrell fan, but to be honest, he did step up in that game. Like the stuff that against his old team at the old ground, like he was getting abuse from the sidelines, kicked every goal, and he looked dangerous the whole time. So shout out to Latrell. Don't give him much praise, but there you go. Are we ready to go into the previews?
Unless you guys have any.
I've one more thought on the Cowboys game. I saw this today. Shout out to Tom Dearden. Most running.
Just that, bro. Like Liam's talking about history in the last game. We're going to bring up this.
That's what made me think of it. What did he run? 11.3 kilometers?
Oh, something ridiculous.
In the space of, I suppose it was 95 minutes, but still, it's like I couldn't do that in 2 hours. He would be going back. He'd be doing tackling as well. You can see how so many errors happened in into the game because pretty much there was 4 of them that broke the record for this year. Like Townsend did, and a couple others. You can see why there was because how tired would you be tackling people for 90 minutes or whatever? But yeah,
in that Cowboys game, didn't you guys only miss like a handful of tackles? Like you didn't miss that many tackles.
I have no idea.
I think I think I saw something and I was like, it was I can't remember who it was. There was a couple players and they just every tackle they made, they made every tackle. They didn't miss a tackle in the Cowboys. So that also shows just how good the defense is and how much they wanted it and deserved it. So yeah.
But this is where it gets tough. Eels Raiders. You could see it going a lot of different ways. And kind of say one thing. The NRL don't care about New Zealand audience at all. 9:50 p.m. and 10 p.m. Only the actual NRL fans are going to stay up and watch that. How are you going to get people from New Zealand? It's because of UK TV. It's just stupid. Anyway.
I won't be up for the Friday one, but I'll be up for the Saturday one.
Oh, I'm playing a game Saturday night that exact time. So yeah, it's everything's wrong. Okay, Eels $1.50, Raiders $2.60. Thoughts?
This is interesting because didn't you send me something about the Eels coach, how he's a disaster in the finals or something?
Yeah, he's only won, I think, 2 out of 9 finals games or something ridiculous, which isn't a great record, let's just say. But they say at the moment Moses is going to play. They say his head's fine, but that could be, you never know, it could an hour before the game Moses is out. So if Moses doesn't play, and his son's on the bench, so if Moses doesn't play, I've got Raiders. If he does play, I've got Eels. Make it simple.
I mean, I've still got Raiders either way. I just think the Eels, they just didn't perform as they were only a first half team against that Panthers, and I didn't really after they collapsed. I just think the Raiders are so hungry after beating the Storm. They'll be so motivated and going out there ready to win. I think Ricky will really drill into them all week, just getting them prepared for this game. So I'm just going to go Raiders.
I was thinking about it in my head, and I reckon it's either going to go Eels 13 plus or Raiders 1-12. But I think they log them. I got the Eels.
Yeah,
you're sticking with your ladder predictions at the start of the year, Connor. Yeah, Eels for the premiers.
But the thing is, I kind of have to backtrack that now because they're going to lose next.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a win-win. It's a weird one as well. I saw someone write this, that a lot of teams like the Raiders, they're the 8th team. Winning that game last week was their grand final almost, they put so much effort into winning that game. How are they going to do it? But just some quick form. So the Raiders actually last week won 28-20. The Eels in round 12 beat the Raiders 28-20. So predict the score as 28-20, okay? Remember that. 28-20 was the score. And in that game, Liam was correct. As normal, the Eels were up 16-0 at half time and only won 28-20. So first half side. You remember that, guys. Liam's got us covered. So me and Connor are going Eels and Liam's going Raiders. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, what's the next game? This one's also a tough one, eh?
Yeah, Sharks and Rabbitohs.
I'm just
I think
keep going.
could
yeah.
go either, to be honest.
They both had such tough games last week. Like the Sharks had to play 93 and the Rabbitohs had to play with like players in the bin, like taking shots all game. So it's like, could be a big grudge match kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd
Do you
probably.
think
It's a tough one, eh?
Do you think the record for sin bins could be broken?
No chance.
Nah, the body, they'll be lucky to make it to 80 though.
These teams played each other once this year, and it was a golden point thriller.
Yeah.
It was.
Sharks won 21-20, so chuck that in as part of it. But I think it's I'm still like with the South, how they had such a bad period this year where like no one treated them seriously, but now I think they're a bit overconfident, which is almost a good thing in finals. I think they think they're better than they are, which at times can be terrible. But I almost think guys like Cody Walker and Latrell play better when they're confident and when they think they're better. So I was going Shark, like I would have gone Sharks this whole time, but I'm actually going Rabbitohs. I've changed tack, gone Rabbitohs.
No, I'm gonna stick with Sharks this week. I think the Sharks, I think they're definitely gonna win. As you said, the Rabbitohs, they had a bit of a grudge match, and I think they'll just be a bit over it and overconfident and think they're gonna win, but they'll make a few mistakes and the Sharks will capitalize on that, especially with Nico Hines on his kicking.
Me and Josh are on the same wave again. I'm Bunnies as well.
And I'll just say one thing. Cody Nikorima, what's the point of having him on the bench? Last week he played 3 minutes off the bench, came on the 77th minute. The week before, came on in the 72nd, I think. So wouldn't you rather have a forward? I suppose he's handy if someone gets injured, but what's the point of having a guy that's going to play a couple minutes a week just for the sake of it? Like, he is pretty gun, though. He's a pretty gun player. But yeah. We haven't done a bet of the week live before, and we're going to do it right now. We're going to do a bet of the week, which is hard because there's only 2 games. We're going to have to figure out any ideas. First try scorers, anything?
I've got Eels 13 plus.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're happy with that, but
Write that down. Yeah, Eels 13 plus. You've got an idea, Liam? I was going to go Sevo first try scorer or any time maybe, but go a bit safer.
I'm gonna go Ronald Mulitalo anytime try scorer.
Okay, so Mulitalo anytime try scorer, and will that work? Are we allowed to do that? I can never go guess on the TAB. I'll have a quick. You guys keep talking. I'll have a quick look.
No, I mean, honestly, I think both these games could go either way. So, Eels definitely could go 13 plus, but I do think they just struggle in the finals and haven't won a finals in a very long time. So, haven't had much experience either. So, it's gonna be an interesting week this week, and it'll be interesting because Connor just thinks they're just gonna lose next week. Anyway, hey Connor.
yeah, no, I think they got unlucky because they had to play a well-rested Panthers side in week 1. Like that's a tough ask for any team, to be honest. Like even if the All Blacks hopped on the Parramatta broken, they still would have lost. So.
Okay.
Well, I'd love to see like a national footy versus like rugby versus league game. That would be so fun.
Okay, update on our bet. We can't do it. We have to either do 3 anytime try scorers or 3 things. So should we just do 3 anytime try scorers?
I'll jump on in any time.
What about Johnston at $1.50? It's still such good odds, you know.
No.
No. I'll stick with Sevo.
I'll go with Sebastian Chris.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll see if this works because the TAB need to fix this, man. Because in Aussie you can put as many anytime try scorers and like pretty much
Even on Sportsbet, you can do whatever you want. I think it's just because we use TAB. Like it just seems like the easy
So you can't do that. You can't do in the same game. So we're sort of screwed.
Or can you not do? Well, then if I go to the,
No, it's
Yeah.
not letting me do Chris and Sevo anytime try scorer.
you can do same game multis though, can't you?
Yeah, so we could do the same game. Yeah, if we want to do that. This is
Yeah,
really
I'll go.
We'll sort it out and do it on the Instagram.
Yeah. Shout out to the TAB. Absolute
Thanks.
disaster. Okay, any other thoughts before we head off? Oh, I actually do want to say one more thing before we head off, and we'll finish on this. You got to lose a grand final to win a grand final. Rabbitohs grand final winners, baby. Let's do it. That's my prediction. No, I'm not doing it. Fuck the Rabbitohs.
Oh,
And a
say
friend-
goodbye to any Rabbitohs interviews.
A friend of the pod, Jason Demetrio, is about to get re-signed for 3 or 4 more years. So shout out to Jason for staying engaged with the podcast, replying to our messages. Cheers to you. We probably need to finish this. This is gonna go bad.
Thanks guys for watching. We'll do same thing next week.
Yeah,
And,
and then we get an interview.
And yeah, go the Raiders.
We'll be more prepared next week as well. We'll have some stats and figures. This was a bit loose. So yeah, thanks guys.